What is the best approach for drawing feet? You know, those weird smelly things with toes that most artists dread drawing? So we rush them, hide them, or crop them out entirely. Using my GSL method, I'll show you how to draw any foot at any angle with full confidence until you crave drawing feet like a millipede doing a self-portrait. We'll study real references, break down anatomy, proportions, and structure, and draw 6 pairs of feet, including feet that express emotions. Yes, emotional feet. Let's go.
So we are going to focus on gesture and then shape and then line in that order. So when you're thinking about gesture, you're really thinking about the movement. And then when shape, you're thinking about the silhouette. And when you're drawing line, you can think about the finish. Most people start with lines first. In this example, the gesture comes from the top of the leg. The gesture would be something like this. That can be a very, very simple way to express what the pose is doing. You can draw other things. For example, if that's the line of the toe, you bring it down. I can see that my heel should be much lower. If I have my heel here, but I'll line it up here and then start to draw in the pose of the foot going this way. If then I have my shape, and then I would just like draw in the basic shapes. So this foot over here is foreshortened. And then I would have to, if I want to look at finding the wedge shape, I can look for the shadow shapes. So if the shadow shapes on this side of the foot, right, you can kind of see there's one plane, and then there's the toe coming out this way, and then these other toes coming out that way. You can see where the toes start to bend, where that hinge is. If you wanted to draw the individual toes, start with the big toe, start to map out the shapes. For me, I rarely draw feet without drawing the ankles. It's kind of like drawing a head without a neck. Like if you just draw a floating head and you don't draw the neck, you don't have anything that it's connected to. And in that case, it's not complete. The same thing with the feet. I really believe that with the foot or with anything that you draw, it should all be connected. I'm actually not drawing these feet relative in proximity to each other, but wanted to show you how I would look for those wedge shapes. You can see the wedge. You can see where the ankles are. You want to get in that placement of the ankles before anything else. When you're drawing toes, you can break it down into different cylinders, like different segments. If you know that the toe is facing towards us, the nail is going to curve this way. The curve of the nail is super important. A lot of people, like I find, they'll draw toes like this. They'll be like, okay, here's my nail. That flattens it out, right? You could have the same toe, but if the nail is going this way, the toe is pointing down. If you have this toe like this, the nail is going this way, you know that the toe is flat on the floor and it's going the opposite way. The curve of the nail is really, really important for drawing feet, and it's important to put it in before you get to the details. Even if you have one nail there, you know how to approach the other nails. You know that all the other nails are going in the same direction. Let's do the next pose. This one here, we're working with 2 feet. And again, it's always better to draw both feet rather than drawing one because of context. What I might do for the gesture is I might draw the arc that both of the feet are making and then draw the angles of the feet. One on this side, one on the other side, thinking about the negative space in between and then what the ankle is doing. This one's going this way and this one is going this way. So there's a bit of a bend. When I see people draw gestures, I always find that they don't draw the feet. I always tell my figure drawing students, make sure that you're drawing feet in all of your gestures, because if you don't, then there's nothing that is ending the pose. You can't feel the weight of a pose unless you have the feet. And the feet are also so expressive that sometimes nuances in a pose. If somebody has their toes curled, but the rest of their body seems normal, you can see that they're nervous. But normally you wouldn't ever see anybody curling their toes because it's in their shoe. But those are like the really subtle things that you can do to show expression. Then you can start to divide everything else out. You can ask yourself, where's the curve of the toes? What's the ankle doing? So the ankle bone is going this way. Is there an arc in the foot? And then how do you want to divide out the toes? If you think about feet, think about a flipper. Usually speaking, if you divide that foot into 3 sections, so 1, 2, 3, this is somebody's left foot, the big toe will take up, so 1/3 of this space will be taken up by the big toe. And then the rest of the toes fit into the other 2/3. Roughly speaking, there is more of a gap between the big toe and the other toes, which is where our nice string sandals, that's where it goes into the foot. With those proportions in mind, you can start to divide out the toe, and because this toe over here is kind of behind the others and it's tucked away, you can divide it out into thirds and then again keep track of what the feet are doing. So now I'm doing the line, and when I draw the line, I'll usually kind of emphasize the bottoms of the toes, make the toes a little bit darker. There's ambient occlusion happening between the toes, which makes a dark shadow like underneath. If I didn't go dark underneath the foot, or I didn't use a thicker line, then what happens is the foot tends to look like it's floating versus being anchored on the ground. With the heel, I don't have to do as dark or as hard of a line, but then with the other parts, I'll make it darker. Right? There's some wrinkles in the foot, wrinkles on the underside of the foot as well. Always try to draw in the ankles if you can. The tops of the legs are important. And then draw in the toes, like the toenails if you can. The 3 things that are important when you're drawing feet together is, 1 is the negative space. The negative space in between the feet, in between the toes, all that space that's in between is helpful. Because if you can draw this shape, to me, the negative space in the picture looks like the letter D. If you can see the negative space and visualize it, you're going to get better at drawing proportions in general. You're going to be better at drawing shapes in general, because there's positive shapes and negative shapes, and most of the time we only focus on the positive, whereas negative shapes do a lot to help you place things and help you look for the shapes in the spaces, not in the anatomy, but in between. Being able to break things down into shapes is the most important, because then you can draw both. 2 is I'm going to say like the grounding line. This is not an anatomy term. I just made this up just so I can help explain what that means. So the grounding line is, to me, it's where the feet align, right? So you think of it as alignment, because if you draw a pose and you don't have time to draw the feet, you could say there's someone standing and then they have a foot over here and then they have a foot over here. And if they're standing like this, then the grounding line would be like that, so that both of those feet are standing on the same plane, except this plane is going into perspective. You can tell that this foot is going to be bigger and this foot is going to be smaller. That alignment is really, really important because it keeps your figures balanced. It helps you prepare to draw them in a better perspective and together. In the reference picture that you see here, in that case, we're looking down at the feet. And you can tell because you can see the line of the floor, right? You can see it right there. It's not really your horizon line, but that's really where the wall meets the floor. So you can tell that your POV is looking down at the feet. Realizing where your POV is also important. And then the last thing is figuring out the overall shape of the toes. It's shaped like a sail. This captures all of your toes in one go. You got the big toe and then the others all on a curve.
By the way, if you're nodding along thinking, yeah, I totally get it, and quietly planning to actually never draw a single foot, I've got you. I'm giving away the foot files completely free, all my notes, demos, and a full real-time workshop so you can draw with me and master this on your own schedule. Links below, no excuses now.
Okay, this one is tricky. Let me explain a little bit how you would draw foreshortened toes like this, and then we will go into the GSL practice. So foreshortening. So let's say we take this sail shape like this. That is the overall shape of the toes. Okay, so let's say it's like this. Now what happens when you put that sail shape and you turn it so that you're looking at it like that? Then in your head, you can probably think of it like something like this. So that's kind of how you need to think about foreshortening. And then the other toes would probably look like this. Right? So really just think of them as forms, and then you can then think about dividing them up. So if I divided this up into thirds, this would be, right? And then for here, you would also divide it up, divide it into thirds. And remember, when things are going back into space, right, things are going to get smaller and smaller. So it wouldn't be as difficult, but let's just say we have a prism like this and it's in perspective. So let's say we have a prism like that. If you want to find the middle of this prism, which is distorted because it's foreshortened, then you have to draw an X in between. So that would be the middle. So if that's the middle, then you can probably guess that the toes would be divided up like this, right? And they get smaller and smaller as they go into the distance. But of course, feet are not flat, they are arc. There's like an arc with the toes. So it becomes even more difficult to draw foreshortened toes or foreshortened feet.
This particular angle can feel so daunting to draw, but keeping your forms and proportions in mind can help you map stuff out. If you're going for accuracy, measuring is usually the best way to double check that things are in the right place and the right size. In this foreshortened angle, the big toe can appear the same size as the smallest toe just because it's farther away and obstructed by the other toes. When it comes to shading, I try to keep it simple and look for flat shapes to shade in, instead of going into too much detail all at once. Side note, you can foreshorten fingers and toes by drawing cylinders in perspective and then drawing in the nails to follow the direction of the curve. I like this method over the coil method because it has more structure. Okay, next pose. These feet show that the person is very nervous. Isn't it cool how feet can be so expressive? After I draw the gesture and the tilt of the ankles, I map out the structure and the negative shape in the middle, which looks like an arrow. I think it's so important to draw from references in addition to drawing from memory because I'm adding to my visual library and seeing all the subtle things I may have missed, like that extra bit of padding beside the little toe. Had I drawn this out of my head, I would have most likely ended the foot at the small toe and wondered why it looked a little weird. While that big toe is mighty and squarish, the little toe is tilted and tucked at an angle, so the nail sits at a 3/4 view. When something feels really hard to draw, it can be great practice to study just a section of it instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything you see. I like to add details only when I have the gesture and structure down, because details are the most fun to draw and I like to save that for last. If you know the basic shapes that make up the foot, it's easy enough to sketch them out of your head. The front view of the toes can just be little circles, and the side of the foot can be drawn as a wedge modified with a rounded heel and an arc on the inside. Are you able to spread your toes like this? Similar to apes, human toes are able to grip and hold things. Keep in mind that the movement of the leg flows directly into the foot, so it's important to keep it all fluid. Instead of drawing outlines, I draw gestural lines to mark the alignments of the ankle and the top and bottom of the toes. Then I draw the shapes that I see with the toes simplified together as one shape. I find it much easier to draw a sock and then divide out the toes rather than drawing each toe individually. The tendons on the big toe and little toe are visible here, and a great detail to add, along with some simple shading to show the weight of the feet. This pose is a weird one. Super expressive, perhaps extremely tense or nervous. They are also very hand-like, almost looking like fists instead of feet. So I use a shape-based gesture to start this sketch. The bones of our feet, also known as the metatarsals and phalanges, make a natural curve that cups the floor instead of sitting flat on the floor. This is what gives the round form of the top of the foot and makes up the underlying structure. When you see the structure, everything else is easy and adding details are a breeze. But without structure, you may get these hairy outlines that lack form and confidence. This tutorial was cut from a full-length workshop on how to draw feet in the GSL method. You can get it for free, along with my demo and notes, linked below. If you want to connect with art nerds from around the world who are on the same journey as you, join the Wing Campus Discord. Share your drawings, get real feedback, and come hang out with us. So if you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're actually trying to get better. And the easiest thing you can do to become a better illustrator is by subscribing to the channel. If you click the bell, you'll be notified when we're streaming a live lesson or whenever we release a new video.